But it's just interesting to me how these numbers have ballooned, and if left unchecked, could have continued to balloon.
Well, the Democratic Party has been associated by several of our scholars and several prominent people. Even Elon Musk associated the Democratic Party with the Communist Party. And people have said for years that the Democratic Party has a communist agenda. And if you look at that immigration piece, it fits so nicely into communist doctrine. You know what I'm saying? So the Democratic Party is very dangerous. Go ahead, Dr. Ward.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, those numbers Miss Cush was rereading. Yeah, I think those are undercounts. Actually, I can never bring myself to read that data because it would just
Depress
it would make me go crazy. So, yeah, I'm glad you read it and not me because I would have thrown my computer at the wall. But you you talk about immigration and stuff, and the Democrats they try to make themselves to be environmentalists and protect the environment and stuff like that. Actually, it was the Republicans who put some of the first laws to protect the environment.
Yep.
But the Democrats, they try to make themselves out to be environmentalists. And one of the reasons I started to abandon, environmentalism and stuff like that is not that I don't believe in clean air and water and, global warming and all that stuff. I believe in it. But the reason I had to walk away from it is because of immigration. You cannot be an environmentalist and at the same time be for unthrottled population growth.
Right. It's a contradiction.
Yeah, it's a contradiction. And that's why I've walked away from all of it. It's because you cannot, like I said, it makes no sense. I mean, how can you be for, protecting the land and preserving habitats? Keep in mind that also some of the first conservationists were Republicans too. How can you be for preserving land when you want to bring more fucking people in that's going to degrade the land? So that's when I said, okay, this is bullshit. Fuck the Sierra Club and all that. I yield the mic.
Yeah, and then we'll bring groups of people here who are associated with destroying land for thousands of years, like the West Africans, the Bantu class, the Nigerians, the Ghanaians. They have a long history of going from place to place like locusts and sucking up all the resources and fucking up the culture. Even some of the Western Asian, according to Dr. John Henry Clark, also known as Arabs, have a history of just fucking up social ties and sneaking their what do you call the word? Their Sharia agenda and just causing wars. And like, if you're gonna do it, shouldn't you bring groups of people in that have a history of working with the environment? The Democratic Party is unhinged. It's off the chain. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not a political person. Again, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. But in my view, academically, the Democratic Party is a threat to democracy.
You know what I was thinking about? Two things I was thinking about. One, people, they frown up their face. They scrunch up their face whenever Donald Trump says, well, maybe we could get some immigrants from Norway or from Denmark or from Sweden. He's always saying these things like that. And people kind of frown up their face. But again, as you said, if you are it's no different than inviting a guest into your home. Most people are not going to go and find the lowest people in society. Like, you're not going to go out and find the murderer and the prostitute and the whatever and just say, oh yeah, you have free access to come in and out of my house as you please. Like, even those of us who have relatives who struggle with addiction and other types of things, at a point you kind of say, no, this person may be able to come into the house, but if they have to go upstairs to the bathroom, and I know I'm not the only person who has this in my family, y'all know that if y'all have people in your family who struggle with addiction,
You gotta
people
watch
will
them.
say,
Yeah.
yes, you gotta watch them. If that person, well, I'm just going upstairs to go to the bathroom, somebody walk upstairs with them and make sure that they go to the bathroom and they come out the bathroom. Matter of fact, make sure the doors stay open, stay cracked. Pay attention to what they're doing. Like, depending on how bad it is. Why is it that when Donald Trump says the same thing about people coming into the United States, if you consider the United States to be your home, you wouldn't be offended that he's saying, yeah, we probably should, have some checks and balances as to who is coming in and out of the country, because other countries do it to us. People think that the United States is just some type of free-for-all, and again, the who's who that we know nothing about from these countries can just get dumped here, and the United States will take care of it. No, thank you. We have our own concerns. And what we could be doing with U.S. taxpayer dollars is building up our raggedy ass infrastructure, because yes, the United States has crumbling infrastructure that it needs to be focused on. We have things we can put our money towards. So yeah, there's that. But the other thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about these types of, see my air quotes around, DEI agendas and these affirmative action agendas that are pushed, whether it's the GLB plus community, whether it's, all these different things. When you look at the United States, it's easy for people to push this ideology and propaganda that everything belongs to everybody if nobody owns it. So making us immigrants, so for instance, making those of us who are the descendants of the indigenous to this land, by making us immigrants on this land like other immigrants, and saying that, hey, we should respect everybody because aren't we respecting the blacks? We need to respect the gays. They make it seem like we got to respect everybody. It's just they're trying to create this one people type of utopia, giving this false sense that we all are a part of the land. This doesn't belong to just any one person. And so again, sometimes that little hippie talk and that little love is love, guys, love is love, that type of stuff like that, all of that type of stuff is trying to push an ideology that everything belongs to everybody because it doesn't belong to anybody. No, this land, there were people here. This land does belong to a group of people. And in my opinion, I think that that's how to muddy the waters, to make it a thing about people's sexuality, to say things like love is love and all this other type of stuff. Because once you just make it seem like we all need to just respect everybody, regardless of skin color, regardless of what you love, once they start getting into all of that, people start, and I've seen this in my community, I've seen this with myself at a point in time, when I was in these streets saying I was an ally of the LGB plus community and black is black, and I was just out here just, so the only race is the human race. I was saying all that crazy shit.
I was saying that crazy shit too.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if they can get people on board with everything belongs to nobody, all of this belongs to everybody because it belongs to nobody, that means that we as foundational black, we don't have, I don't know if I went out right there, but we as foundational black Americans, we don't have a legit, it weakens our claim, our justice claim. When we say that we are owed reparative justice, starting with cash payments and land for what has been done to our ancestors, if we push that ideology too, that everything is everybody's, it don't belong to nobody, we're weakening our own claim. And so I think that that's a part of it too, is to have everybody sitting over here with the let's lock on. It's no different than what happened with the March on Washington. That started off with fighting for sanitation worker rights or fighting for labor rights, and then it turned into some hippie movement with people splashing their feet in the pool at Washington D.C., locking arms and singing "This land is your land, this land is my land." It's easily co-opted that way, and I yield the mic.
Yeah, Kush, that's that communist agenda, trying to pretend like you're trying to help the world, but in essence, you're trying to destroy the world. When you look at communism, you have to look at Karl Marx as its progenitor. And Karl Marx is a man misunderstood. Number one, he was originally a member of a certain faith. We're going to leave that alone. But Karl Marx was a Luciferian at a certain point. Maybe he always was. But Karl Marx loved Faust, Mephistopheles, the story of Satan or Lucifer. And Karl Marx's favorite quote was, "Every living thing deserves to die." And that Karl Marx is misunderstood. Karl Marx had an agenda of a hidden agenda, according to Dr. Jordan Peterson, of destroying the world. And his venue for destroying the world was hidden as communism. I'm gonna save the world. It's like it's a opposite agenda. It's Luciferian. There's no other way than to say it. Remember that the word evil is live spelled backwards. When you're looking at the opposites, you're looking at a Luciferian agenda. Go ahead, Sister Gia.
Hey everybody, cause you touched on so many points, and one of the things I wanted to say, when you say it dilutes our justice claim, I don't know if I got a chance to talk about what happened this week, and I think I mentioned it on some other spaces, but I was at an MLK event this weekend. It was a panel talking about how do we preserve Black wealth, and how do we preserve the HBCUs. And when it got to the point of us having our Q&A, my question to them was, how do we go about saving our culture when we don't correctly name it and instead give it a generic name, being African American or just Black American? Should we instead move to naming our lineage in order to correctly identify our justice claims so that other groups can't come in and co-opt and double dip it? When I asked that question, the person who was on the panel, the host of the panel, turns out she was a Black Brit, stood up from the stage and walked off.
Wow.
And that just goes to show, and then not too soon after that, I mean, of course, everybody up there that was left up there was explaining, didn't know how to answer the question, was talking in just all types of word salad that they were using. And it was just case in point right then and there where, no, they very much so, because they then closed the panel down. They ended the panel early and had us go and get refreshments. And they did not want to answer the question. And it just goes to show, no, they knew exactly what's going on. They know that we are moving off. They think that we live in our phones and that we all live online. But now they're seeing that they're being confronted with these types of questions, and that they are in fact our enemy, and that we're naming it. We're naming our lineage. And I pulled rank and I said my lineage traces back not just to the founding of this country, but the Revolutionary War, because people get the founding and the Revolutionary War mixed up. No. Founding was 1776. That's when we're coming up on the 250, but my family goes back prior to that. So just think, I mean, the whole energy, the vitriol that they had up there. And it's like, if I can't ask this question in a room full of quote unquote Black people, and either way, if it doesn't apply to you, for you to just abruptly end the panel, abruptly not want to answer the question, that tells us everything that I need to know in terms of you are in fact my enemy.
Right. That was powerful, Gia. When truth was spoken to power, the Brit got up and walked her ass out. Well, she needs to walk her ass back to London. Why the fuck are you over here in our goddamn politics? I'm so glad that we're delineating and coming together, because the truth is the power has been in our hand the whole time. Back to the topic, the Democratic propaganda has whitewashed and brainwashed our minds. And I tell you, the group it hit the hardest, it hit the baby boomers. Because what I'm noticing with my current students who are Gen Z and a couple of them are Gen Alpha is they're basically our kids. I'm a millennial. Their parents are millennials and late Gen Xers. And that we're not telling them stuff. We're not telling them about lineage. And it's the source of not being told is the baby boomers. So that Democratic Luciferian brainwash machine worked all too well on baby boomers. But we're course correcting, being the late Gen Xers and millennials. We're course correcting. And I'm very proud and excited to be alive during this time period.
You know, the other division that I was thinking about as well as I was listening to Gia, just listening to you speak, the other division that happens when these ideologies of, you know, we're all one, what happens is people begin to feel entitled to American citizenship. They feel that because they have American citizenship, they are entitled. And so you will hear people saying that I'm just as American as you, or I'm just as Black American as you. And as Gia said, you know, there are you know, white Americans who are not as American as Gia and her lineage. It does not go back as far. But you have people that, for whatever reason, whether it's through naturalization, whether it's natural born citizenship, because, you know, their elder ancestor, whoever was here, I was born here, whatever, people begin to feel entitled. And so when we begin to have these types of conversations, speaking truth to power and pulling the paperwork and pulling the receipts and saying, no, you know, my ancestors were here before, you know, whatever the case may be, here's the paperwork. The division comes in because then we have people fighting us tooth and nail who are saying, well, no, I'm just as American as you. This is why we have and the other guy.
Black students, we need to know our history.
The Black history we're being taught in public schools is repetitive.
As a Black high school student, I want to learn more about my history in the school books.
We need to update our books.
As Black American students, we deserve an accurate depiction of what Black history truly is.
I want to see myself in these textbooks.
In the public school system, Black history is vague.
Why don't the school books ever talk about the Freedmen's Bureau?
I created the workbook for the African American family. This book helps fill in the gaps that the school books don't. Purchase the workbook for the African American family on OurStoryPublications.com and use the Cash App, $, Our Story Publications.